Today we'll be going over how to change your oil on a Jeep JK with a 3.6 Pentastar engine. So here's what you're going to need. You're going to need some gloves. You're going to need a funnel. You're going to need one of these to remove the filter housing. And this is a 24 millimeter, some paper towels for cleanup, an oil filter, and I use the Mopar one. And you're going to need 6 quarts of oil, and 5W20 full synthetic is what's recommended. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the dipstick out. What that'll do is that'll allow air to get in so that the oil will drain out more smooth. Just going to pull that all the way out. And if you look on there, it'll show you that you got a good amount of oil, but you can see by the color, it's that dark brown color, that it's definitely time for a change. Next, we'll remove this engine cover, because the oil filter on these is right here on the top. So let's set this aside here. And that is your oil filter housing right there. And that's what you need that little tool for. The next step is to remove the oil pan plug right there. And that's done with a 1/2-inch socket. So we'll go ahead and take that off. Make sure that you have your catch pan ready to go. Recenter my catch pan a little bit there. We'll go ahead and take this off. Once you break it free, it's pretty easy to remove. You don't need to keep using the ratchet. You can just use your hand. That way you're ready to get it out of the way once the oil starts coming out. So we'll go ahead and just take this off. You'll notice that oil's already starting to drip out of there. And there we go. The oil is dumping into the catch pan. I'll just set this aside. I'm going to go ahead and scoot this. Just barely caught the catch pan there. Little bit close for comfort now. Now you can buy oil plugs that have little magnets on them, and I like to use those because then if there's any metal particulates that go into your oil pan, it'll catch them here and you can see them. So a quick inspection will show that there is no metal particulates that are draining down into my oil pan. So we'll go ahead and just clean this off and get ready to put it back in once the oil's done drying or draining out. So now we'll go ahead and remove the oil filter housing. And that's done with our 24 millimeter socket right here, which is specifically designed for removing these. And we'll just twist it off of there and pull it out with the oil filter still in it. Now the oil filter kits that you get for these come with a new O-ring that will go around the bottom of the oil filter housing and a new oil filter. So I'll show you how to rebuild that. In order to remove this filter, replace this filter out of the filter housing, you're just gonna pop the old filter out just like that. Set it aside. Then there's that little O-ring that I was telling you about. It's right there. And you're just going to remove that. Just get a little flathead screwdriver, pop it under there, and you can just kind of work it right off. And I try not to damage it, just in case I need to reuse it. But I've never had a problem in the past. So we're going to go ahead and open this box up. Brand new filter. The O-ring is stuffed down inside the box there. Brand new O-ring. So I got some oil in my gloves. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of work this filter, this little O-ring, through my fingers here to get some of that oil off my gloves and onto it. And I'm just going to slide it right back on there. Just like that. Make sure that it's sitting down inside of its little groove there, all the way around. It's good to go. So now, in order to put the new one in, it's very simple. The same way you took it out. You just take it with this side here, this side facing down, the side with the nipple there. You're going to put it in there, and you're just going to push on it straight down until it pops. Just like that. That's it, it's done. And now we can put it back in the Jeep. We'll just go ahead. If you see down in there, that's where it's going to go. And we'll just put that right back in there. And it'll kind of click into place a little bit. We'll just screw it back in. And I like to do it by finger as much as I can to be safe to not cross-thread anything. This oil filter housing, it's just plastic. So it could be pretty easy to cross-thread if you're not careful. So I would recommend doing as much as you can by hand first. And then come back with the ratchet. You can just tighten it down the rest of the way. Doesn't need to be good and tight. It just needs to be snug. Shouldn't require much effort. There we go. So the oil pan is just about done draining. Just got a slow drip coming out of it, and that's good enough. So we're going to go ahead and put the plug back in. So just like this. Put the plug right back in there. Put that on there, and we'll just snug this down, same as the top part. Doesn't need to be super tight. It's good. Now with the oil plug back in on the bottom, we're going to remove this right here. And if you look on there, it says 5W20. And this is how you're going to pour your oil back in. Just set this right down on top of the engine. You're going to put your funnel in there. And I have this funnel with this wide bottom right here. And it's not great for using this because of how small that tube is. So it doesn't really stay in on its own. So I'm going to have to hold it. So bear with me while I find a better solution for my camera. I'm just going to have to hold this filter in there and just start pouring it in. That's all from 5 quart. Quart. Now we're going to put the dipstick back in. It's got its port right over here somewhere. Just got to find it. Stick it all the way down in, and then we're going to pull it back out. And we're going to check the oil levels. So you'll see on there, I don't know how well you can see it on this camera, but you can see that it's wet all the way up to the top of the dipstick right there. So if it's only wet up to here, it's not enough oil. And you can give it a second because the oil is still going to be running down through the engine into the oil pan. But mine's wet all the way up. It's good to go. So I'm going to start putting everything back on. So dipstick back in. Double check, make sure that this is back on. And the oil filter and oil filter housing is back in. And we're we're going to put the engine cover back on. Just clicks in close back here. And you just press it down on. It's on there good. And that is how you do an oil change. It's really just that simple. It doesn't take a lot of time. It saves you some money by doing it yourself instead of bringing it into your shop. Please like and subscribe to the videos. I got more coming out soon. And I'll see y'all later.